Thinker Television is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Berkeley, catch more fish. Abu Garcia, for life.
Good morning. Welcome to Fishful Thinker. I'm Chad LaChance, and as always, we appreciate you joining us. Now, if you're a fan of the show, you'll no doubt recognize Mr. Ronnie Castiglione right here. Ronnie's been on the show a bunch in the past. We've ice fished, we've stream fished, we've walleye fished, we even carp fished once before. Ronnie, of course, guides with us here at Fishful Thinker, but today we got a whole different deal. We're going offshore fishing for largemouth. You're not going to see us on the banks anywhere around this lake today. We're going to stay out off the banks, fish isolated structure. What do you expect out of the day?
I think the fishing's going to be really good. I think it's going to be about getting the lures down and grinding the bottom, and I think the fish are going to bite.
I hope so. That's a good attitude, but he's right. It's going to be about getting your lures to the bottom, boat control, casting angles, using your electronics to find these spots. It's going to be fun. We're going to try to teach you how to get off the bank and get some fish that don't get quite as much pressure. So what do you think? We're ready to go fishing?
Let's get her done.
All right, let's do it. All right, cranking we go. The best tools that you can use as an angler for fishing offshore is a buoy of some sort. I've got a little H buoy. This buoy's got a lead line like a duck decoy would have, so I can get up on my spot that's marked on the Lowrance unit, get exactly where I want to be as far as a shallow spot or the drop-off edge or whatever the key feature on that offshore structure is. Then you throw your buoy over. So my buoy, I have another buoy behind the boat that's a little bit deep. We're going to throw another one here a little bit shallower, and then we'll have a good gauge on where exactly our structure is. So you throw the buoy overboard, as close to your GPS point as you can, drop it like that. It's going to go down to the bottom. That one's going to go down about 14 feet or so before it stops sinking right there, because that's about 12 and a half actually. And it's going to go down and it'll stop. And once it reaches that position there, it's now solid on the bottom, and I now have a line between these two buoys that form the tip of the offshore structure that I'm fishing. Any cast to the west of there is going to put me on the structure. Any cast to the east of there is going to put me out in the deep water off the end of it. So that's kind of how we're going to fine tune our spot, and it's a great technique you can use even with just a basic fish finder or whatever. You can find your spot, drop your buoy, and know you're fishing the right spot. It's kind of like a visual waypoint. It's a good trick. Fish, all right. Now I'm going to try to mop in right behind them. There you go, people. Now that was a grand total of, well, he ain't much, but he's in the right direction.
He's a giant. He's the right species.
He is in there. He is the right species. That's a good point, and he has got us on the board now. I've made about 5 casts, 6 casts. Ronnie's made about 3 casts. He's fishing a crankbait that's fundamentally different than my crankbait, and that will make a key part of our pattern once he gets his fish unhooked.
All right, so we dropped the buoy out here, and I'm making real long casts past the buoy so that by the time my crankbait gets to where the buoy's at, it's down at depth, and I'm grinding the bottom and hopefully looking for a reaction strike as this crankbait bounces off those rocks.
How important do you think is it that the crankbait actually hit the rocks?
It can be really, really important. I think on any given day you may be able to get them just, cranking along without it hitting. But there's going to be days where you will not get a single strike unless you make contact with a rock.
Now the funny thing is that people watching this show, you just don't see that many bass fishing shows that are done away from the bank, and you just don't see that many bass fishermen that fish away from the bank. But when you get, especially here in the West, where you've got a lot of water fluctuations, an offshore spot like this has deep water around it all the time. Doesn't matter what the weather or water conditions do. The lake can drop 5 feet. These fish still have tons of water around them. A fish that's on a bank somewhere doesn't have that luxury. Okay, so what I did, guys, I made a long throw. Now I'm gonna put the rod all the way down. Paul Elias made this technique famous a long time ago. I believe in like 1974 or something, really long time ago. Basically, I'm just getting the angle down, just the opposite of what you would expect out of something like a wakeboard tower, which lifts the wakeboarder as he comes off the wave by getting the pull point higher than the boat. Well, same thing here. I'm trying to get my pull point, in other words, the tip of my rod, closer to the bottom, and basically flattening the angle that the line's pulling on the crankbait. And what that does is allow the crankbait to run deeper. Now, it's only gonna run, it's been proven, it'll only run as deep as the rod will go into the water. So in other words, you're not gonna gain 10 more feet by sticking 5 feet of rod in the water, but you will gain 5 feet by sticking 5 feet of rod in the water. There you go, there you go. Now, one thing I'm quickly putting together, Ronnie's caught 3 fish. He caught all of them on the same cast, and all of them are little like this one. And that tells me right away that we're gonna need to fish shallower or deeper. It's a good catch, don't get me wrong. He's up on me 3-0, and I'm happy to see it. But the pattern detail in me says he's not on the right, they're carbon copies of each other. So he's found the shallow spot that his crankbait will get bit a bunch. But they're not the caliber of fish we expect to catch here. And one of the pattern details may end up being, are they on the deep edge? Are they on the top? Are they in the bottom? He's grinding rock and getting bit immediately. That's the shallowest part. And that's where the fish are biting those little guys. So we need to find the 3-pounders, not the 12-inchers. Well, if you look around right here, it's miles of flat mud. It would take you a while to find a rock pile out in the middle of it without a way to mow a big swath of water. And the structure scan's set up looking, say, 100 feet out to each side of your boat. Now you're covering a 200-foot swath to the bottom, and that gives you a really good opportunity to find those key spots. And like Ryan just said, put a waypoint on them and know that you're fishing in the right spot. And then you go drop a buoy on it when you get there, like we've done out here on the tip out here. You can probably see that buoy. Then you have a visual on it even out here in the boat, and that'll help as well. So one of the things that I'm trying to do, people, is get my bait to land right at the top and then drag it and let it drop off that edge right there. And that's why I've got the football head out as opposed to the crankbait. The crankbait gives me an idea where the top lip of that thing is, but it's nowhere near as precise as something like a football head jig, which stays pinned to the bottom. This jig's very heavy and it will stay pinned to the bottom. And so I can drag it, drag it, drag it. When it all of a sudden feels like it's a never, never land, that basically means that's right where the edge is and it just fell off into the deep water. Once it does that, I'm gonna let it go down that bank and hope we can make contact with a bigger one, but B, I can slowly put together a good visual on exactly where that drop is and have a chance at fishing right at the foot of it. We've already proven in the first 20 minutes that there's lots of little fish up on the top, but where can we make contact with a bigger one? There I'm off the drop, not to the point of having to feed it line. The bait's gonna go down 12, 14 feet. And now I'm fishing a whole different depth range than I was in that same cast a minute ago. But if you get only throwing something like a crankbait or a moving bait, you don't ever define that hard edge. Got him. I wasn't sure if he stayed. No, there we go. Easy. Easy. Tried to get me in the trolling motor, man. That's my first day. Now, guys, this is why you retie right here. I'm gonna tell you this right now. And it's just a little small. He's not anything to get too excited about, although he just clobbered one thing, dude. That's a 3/4 ounce Berkeley gripper jig with a chigger chunk on there. That's a big mouthful. See this frazzle? I don't know if the camera will see it, but there's a frazzle in the line right there. That fish jumped, got me in the trolling motor, just barely frazzled the line right there. And that's a recipe for a heartache on the next fish. So we'll be retying this jig, even though that was a 12-inch fish, we'll be retying this jig. That's a big one right there. Don't go anywhere with the boat. There we go. There we go. Let me swing them around over here. All right, guys, now here's the one we're looking for, or one of them that we're looking for right there, guys. Now, we've been working around. We've been fishing for about an hour. He got all of that jig. And I'm not gonna put too much pressure on him. I got him on 17-pound, 100% fluorocarbon, so I'm not worried about breaking him off too much. I just don't wanna pull him off. I don't know what kind of hooks that I got on him. There we go. That's why we're out here, guys. That's why we're out here. That's why you fish offshore spots right there. This place got pounded today. I know it got pounded. We talked to guys, but everyone's fishing the banks, and that's a solid one right there. I mean, no matter how you look at it, that's a quality fish. Of course, we're gonna put him back as quick as possible, but there's the brand new St. Croix Legend Extreme rod, the Revo STX, the big gripper jig, the 17-pound 100%, and a beautiful largemouth. Baby, there you go. Give some knuckles on that one. Nice catch. We'll get him put back. All right. There you go. Did he come off?
No, he's coming.
He's still on there. Nice. Now that looked like maybe a little bit better one there. Pull up on a new spot, guys. And what we're working now is a creek channel. And that's really our first serious cast. We spend a minute finding our depth range. And there's a good fish there, Ron. All right, there you go. Careful, you got him. Holy smokes, folks.
Moving up a little.
I guess, man, that was a sketchy landing job, but there you go. Nice. I'll give you some knuckles on that one. Good work, Doug.
Yeah.
So, moved to a new spot. Now we're on a channel. There's a channel that comes in here from the west, shoots most of the way out across the lake and turns back south. It's got some swings on it. We spend a minute on the graph looking for those swings, find the transitions, and then make casts to them. That was your first throw. There you go, people. That's how you do it. Good catch, Ron. Real good catch.
See if we get another one.
Now, see there, the only thing we didn't change. Now we've got a pattern working. We have some depth ranges we know that they like. So when we came to a new spot, the last thing we're gonna do is try to totally change up our depth range. Instead, we work the same depth range. We just figured out where it intersects the structure that we want to fish. In this case, a channel swing. So where that comes into that same 7 to 9, we've been bit anywhere from about 6 to 12 feet on this last spot. Where it intersects that depth range here is where we're throwing. There you go. Nicely done, Ron. There we go. Get a hold of that thing. Own him. Get him. There you go. So here's the deal, guys. You can probably see the bank. We've been fishing this channel, and I keep telling you the channel edges are the key, or the catching direction is the key. Let me get this bait reel up. We'll get a good look at him. It's a nice fish. It's not a giant, but it's a nice fish. And considering the fish we've been catching, other than 1 or 2 here and there, that's been a better fish. Certainly it's legal keeper on this lake. You can go ahead and put him back and we'll talk this through.
We're moving up.
Nice fish, Ron. Good catch. There you go. So what's the deal, guys, is we've been working this channel way out here. And the channel's still deep. Well, the casting angle, as we keep saying, can be very, very important. Well, we were sitting out and throwing into the channel. So we decided to come up inside the channel, make a long crankbait throw out and fish our way, so our bait's coming into the shallower parts of the channel. And sure enough, he got bit. Again, that was another one on the first cast. So, or maybe second cast with that angle. So the angles are so important. It's not just the spot, but the angle that you throw to it can be night and day different. Same bait. 20 casts the other way, bit on the first one, no other bites. Turn around, throw to the same spot, the other direction, boom, bit again. Both better than average fish.
There you go.
Get her done.
Do another one.
What do you got? You got an angle you want to work on or what? Okay. And see, there we go, guys. It's all about the angle. Now this one's gonna get bit. There's a fish. Watch out. Don't get me now. There's the hole.
I fell into my hole, Chad.
That's the hole I want you to fix.
But I still have the fish.
That's the important part.
Oh,
nice. I fell into my hole. He's a little bit better one there. Not so bad. This spot's distinctly rocky, and that's important because it's got a high spot. It's got distinct structure to it. But this type of fishing could have nothing to do with structure and could have only to do with bottom content. It could be something like the end of a boat ramp that's way out off the bank where you have no way to have any visual around it or what's going on. It could be just a little hard spot on the bottom, a little gravel spot or something like that. I think we're gonna maybe go look at a little gravel spot or two. It could be, a deep brush line. It could be any number of things. Our premise here today is just fishing offshore spots with your electronics. And one of the other key things that's really good about offshore fishing these days for anglers is that not only electronics great, but the software that goes with those electronics and some of the software mapping tools that are available online are huge. So I do a lot of my scouting for any of our fishing trips online. And when I say online, I'm looking at maps. Then I'll pull waypoints from stuff that looks to be good structure off of online maps and download those into my Lowrance HDS units. There we go.
Get him.
Got him.
Nice.
Yeah, okay, so not really any bigger than the other ones. We came to a new spot looking for a new one, but we have caught a ton of them so far. See if I can keep them getting stuck by this little smallie right here. But that you can see, guys, I got a 7-foot 4-inch Mojo Bass crankbait rod stuck all the way in the water to the handle to get that crankbait as deep as I can get it. And he's still not giant, but the technique is very relevant. And our show is about the technique, that's our whole thing. So you pay attention to the rod all the way down, crankbait as deep as it can get, rooting hard on the bottom, and then boom, finally gets bit. So it's only our second cast, my third cast on a new spot. So good deal. Nice, Ron, I like this spot. did not take the time to drop a buoy because we didn't want to get up shallow on the spot and spook the fish that might be on there. We're hoping to hit gravel that's like 9 feet, a little over 9 feet down, it looked like on the graph, so we'll see. Them old 5-pounders on the gravel. Yeah, Carolina rig might be a good choice on a spot like this, but they seem to be more into the faster baits like this crankbait right here. So I think we'll just stick with the crankbait. But a Carolina rig would be a good choice as well.
Decent fish, huh?
Yeah, that's another good fish there. Offshore, baby, deep cranking. Boom, there's a big double right here, guys. Oh, we got him, we'll swing mine up in. Oh, you jumped off, oh. Wow. Good thing we punted. We debated whether or not we wanted to move for the last 5 minutes. And you know, it's funny because tournament guys will tell you that decisions like that, those last minute decisions that go in your favor, are what separate a great day from a bad day. There we go. New spot, guys. We're just moving around, hitting small spots. Stay out of your way here. I'm gonna get my bait clear. What you got? You good? Oh, that's a nice one. Hang on, I'll help you out. Let me get my
white bass. Oh, he come off.
Oh, it was a white bass?
Yeah, it was a nice white
okay.
bass, but he came off.
There's one right there. I got one right here.
White bass like to travel in
Buddy,
groups.
this one's got me in the motor almost. Come on around here, buddy. What do I got here?
You got who, Chad?
Well,
You got your other rod, guy.
okay, he's clear my other rod. Now that didn't go quite, that's a toad smallmouth. Look at the size of this small, Ronnie, get a net if you would. This is a giant smallie, it looked like. It's a, get the net if you would, quick as possible. Holy smokes, this looks like a big old smallie. Come here, buddy. Okay, he's coming up right here, Ronnie. Coming up right here, gentle, 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 gentle.
Giant.
That's
a giant.
Giant,
Nice.
smallmouth.
Look at that,
Oh,
huh?
buddy, look at the size of that one.
You look at that, huh?
That, people, is why you fish offshore structure. Give me some right there. Put that big horse back. Look at that smallmouth bass. Here you go, baby. Oh, baby. Offshore, babe. That kind of fish has been in this lake a long time. This lake sees tons of fishing pressure. That kind of fish probably rarely frequents the bank other than to spawn. It probably spends most of its life out here chasing shad in open water and hitting little soft spots. That was a spot of gravel no bigger than the size of this boat. Yeah. And it just paid the bills. I almost had a double with your white bass too. So this is substantial. That's a quality smallmouth bass right there, people. Holy smokes, there it is, the Mojo Bass Crankster. It's a big soft rod. It's got, this one's got 12-pound, trying 100% fluorocarbon. It's a very soft rod. Got the Abu Garcia Revo winch reel designed for throwing crankbaits, specifically 5.4-to-1 gear ratio. It's the new 2013 model, super light. Put all of it together and it worked perfect. And that was probably the biggest smallmouth I've ever seen in this lake personally. So I'll take that one.
Nice one. I like it.
You notice we bumped around a lot. Well, the reason we're moving around so much is because we're seeing these differences in conditions. So we're trying to time our spots a little bit. So the ones that have the breeze on them at times or when they're shallow at times, and just more than anything, just rotating them so that, you know, we're not spending too much time in any one spot. And with the weather changing like it is, the amount of boats that we're also dodging, because there has been a lot of boats out here this afternoon, that's the other side of it. So we've been moving around a lot and we've seen a variety of conditions, but our baits have stayed consistent, so that's good. Right there, baby, just like that.
That's a good one.
Is it a good one?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. That's why you move, people. We literally just moved here. That's, I think we're on second or maybe it's third cast since we moved to this spot. And it looked like you might have a good one, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be.
It's throbbing, that's sure. That's a good sign. Here, I'll hold the boat here real quick. You don't get, oh, that's a toad.
It's a pig.
All right, that's a toad. Hang on, I'll net him for
yeah,
you.
why don't you get the net?
I'll net him for you right here. Oh, this is why you move to different spots. It's a big old largemouth.
Giant.
Yeah, we got him. Nice work, Ronnie.
There you
Nice
go.
work. Get that crankbait. Don't let him get you. Pick him up. We'll deal with the net and the fish. Look at that one. Look at that one.
Huh? Is that better?
Now, we got just enough time to roll up the trolling motor, run to the next spot, and see if we can get a couple more before the sun goes down. There's one right there. All right. And they're up. They are twins. Now, I'm going to go easier on this one since I got bullish on that one. So we now have figured out, I'm going to get them on next run up into the boat. We got twins. Nice double.
Smallies here.
Nice. Kissing twins right there. I think that seems like as good a spot as any, guys, to call it a show. I mean, realistically, here's the thing. We wanted to show you an offshore show, and the whole thing about offshore fishing is that you got to pay attention to the details, the boat position, the angles of the cast, the propensity to be on the bottom or near the bottom, the types of bottom contact we made, the use of the sonar and the GPS. You know, the sonar and the GPS together, we've identified a little patch here, 30 or 40 feet wide we can get bit on, but we can come back to it over and over and over again if we want to. Sonar and GPS, very important as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's the only way to do it.
And it's fun, right? I mean, realistically, it's kind of like video game meets, you know, fishing at the same time, being off the bank. The other thing is we've had boats around, they come between us and the bank, and it's not really an issue. So the offshore stuff's very good. So whether you walleye fish, you bass fish, you perch fish, whatever, don't be afraid to get off the bank, especially if you're a largemouth angler, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Ronnie, I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks,
More
Chad.
importantly, actually, let me rephrase it. I appreciate him taking us out because I just sold my big Ranger, so we're out in Ronnie's Champion. If you guys want to go on a guide trip with Ronnie, I would highly recommend that as well. Get more information on that at fishfulthinker.com. If you want to join the conversation, join us at Facebook at Fishful Thinker, and of course, tune in every Saturday on Altitude Sports Entertainment. Till next week, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you then. Got him on the side of the head. No, you got him too. There you go. There you go. All right, I'm no fool. He's a brown one.
Brown one.
But he was still caught up 3 fish ahead of me. I've proven unequivocally, Ron, the same as you now, that there's a bunch of shallow ones up top, considerably different than the crankbait. There's the gripper jig, but we'll keep looking, but there's another one on the offshore spot. So we have solidly found. Now, one of the other things I'd like to address a little bit, guys, is that's how you're gonna cover the most water. So that's a key thing. And then once you figure that out, the other thing, that's a pretty one, look at there. Gotta love Colorado sunsets, baby.
I like my smallies.
Is he real? Got him. No, I missed my drop, my rod. Are you kidding me?